In this video, we're going to talk about one of the #1 reasons why riders fall down and give you 3 simple tricks to help you avoid those common mistakes. These tricks will help all aspects of your riding, making you faster, safer, and give you more time to enjoy the sport that we all love so much. At the end of this video, we'll have a bonus tip that you don't want to miss. It will not only make putting the 3 tips we give you into practice much easier, but it'll help every aspect of your riding. My name is Eric Wood, and I want to welcome you to GasOnBikeUp. Today our topic brings us to why we called this channel GasOnBikeUp. An important part of my motorcycling journey has been as the president of the Penguin Racing School. One of the goals of both the school and this channel is to take complex riding concepts and make them simple. GasOnBikeUp came from a fundamental belief that we can make riders both faster and safer. GasOnBikeUp reminds riders of a critical concept where they're transitioning from turning to acceleration. This critical transition also happens to be the point where many crashes happen on the racetrack and on the street. Before we go any further, we're going to talk about the most important concept in motorcycling, and that is grip. There are 3 basic concepts we want to talk about when it comes to grip. The first is weight transfer. In order for this tire to have grip, there has to be weight pushing down on it. We all know that if you're wheeling and your tire's in the air, it has no traction, has no ability to steer the bike, turn it, or do anything you need to do. However, if I take this tire and push on it really hard, it's going to have way more traction. The tire is going to bite into the pavement deeper and have significantly more grip. Now, this is a concept we all know, but sometimes we forget in the heat of the moment when we're riding. Second is we want to talk about the 3 basic directions of load there is on a front tire. The first is acceleration and braking. Now I got a front tire here, so this is going to be all braking. So all this load is going to be in this direction when the tire wants to slide against the pavement going front to backwards. The second is the side to side, the left to right lateral load. This comes from the G-forces that happen when the bike is cornering. And when that happens, we generate lean angle. In general, as we have more lean angle and more speed, we have more force in this direction, okay, from left to right. The third is perhaps the most forgotten, and that is the human load. When we take this tire and we turn it from left to right, we're going in this direction. It is the combination of these 3 loads, the front to back braking or acceleration, if we're talking about a front or a rear tire, the side-to-side turning loads or the lateral loads, that is the G-force that's trying to throw the bike to the outside of the corner all the time, or the human loads, which is the physical turning of the bars back and forth. That's the 3 ways we can consume grip with the front tire. Now we go to that critical point in the corner, the point at which you apply throttle. What's happening right there? The bike is at maximum lean angle. You've got that maximum amount of lateral force going on. You should have trailed off almost all of your brake by then. You maybe have one little finger there trailing brake on, so there's almost no forward-backwards braking load. There's a little bit of steering load as you're turning the bike, but that should be pretty low as well. Almost the entire tire should be used for carrying that corner speed at that point. And now the big concept behind GasOnBikeUp comes into play right now. You've got, ideally, if you're Marc Marquez, you're using all of your tire, 100% of your tire, with that lateral force, the carve through the corner. At that moment, we apply throttle. Now, if we're at 100% of our grip, the minute we apply the throttle, what happens to our weight transfer? The bike, as it begins to accelerate, lifts the front tire. As it lifts the front tire, what happens to our front grip? It decreases. If you're going to apply the throttle and you're at maximum usage of your grip, you must release some of that grip from the front tire. That's why we go bike up. As the bike reduces lean angle, it reduces that lateral load and gives you grip to be able to keep turning without sliding the front tire. So, where's the problem come? Most riders who fall or make a mistake at this point haven't finished the corner. And as a result, as they pick up the throttle, they continue to turn. Or, Lord forbid, they actually will add lean angle and add turning force as they begin to accelerate. These riders typically are not at 100% of traction. They might be at 70 or 80%. But as they accelerate and they take more and more weight off the tire, they have less and less grip to utilize. And we'll talk about a concept right now. Let's say the bike and rider together weighs 600 pounds. At the moment when you have almost no brake, almost no acceleration, we'll say, for argument's sake, that load is completely balanced. 50% front, 50% rear. So you've got 300 pounds of weight on the front tire and 300 pounds of weight on the rear tire. That weight corresponds to grip. Now, let's say that a rider is using 80% of their available traction in the middle of the corner. As they accelerate and they transfer weight from the front tire to the rear tire, what will happen is that weight will go from 300, 300 to 250, 350, 200, 400, 150, 450, and so on and so forth. The more violent your roll-on, the faster and harder that transition is going to happen, and the faster the weight's going to go away from your front tire. Now again, lots of riders aren't at the limit, but what happens is they get in the habit of picking up the throttle and finishing the corner at the same time. And as you take away more and more grip and you get more and more aggressive with the throttle, if you maintain bar input, your margin for error goes from, let's say, 20% to 10% to 5 to 0, and the minute it transfers the other way, that's when the front end tucks on the way out of the corner and you get that exit low side. So what are the three basic concepts that allow you to employ this GasOnBikeUp strategy? Concept number one happens with your eyes. The key to GasOnBikeUp is to have your bike pointed in the right direction. To have direction, the way we define direction on the motorcycle is you have direction when you can apply throttle and take away lean angle in a constant fashion on the exit of a corner without giving it up. If you have to pick the throttle up, roll on, roll out, at any point during the acceleration, you didn't have direction. If you have to continue turning and the bike does anything but decrease lean angle from the moment you apply throttle, even slightly, then you are putting yourself in danger of that exit low side. The key is to use your eyes properly, to scan back and forth constantly as you ride. The earlier you can see direction, the earlier you can identify your slowest point of the corner. How do we define slowest point of the corner? Slowest point of the corner is typically the spot where you end braking and you apply the throttle. It makes sense because you are decelerating the whole way into the corner when you're on the brakes, and you begin to accelerate and increase speed as you leave on the way out. That bottom of your speed graph happens right at that transition. That also happens to be where you have maximum lean angle. And then as soon as you have achieved direction, in other words, your bike is pointed in such a way that you can apply gas and take away lean angle in a constant fashion on the way up, then you've got your direction done. The key to being able to make that happen is to see it as early as possible. The way you see it early as possible is to scan back and forth. You should have at least 2 points in your forward vision at all times. And what 2 points allows you to do is to draw a curve. If you have your reference point of where you are and 1 point in front of you, which is what a lot of riders do when they're just getting started, then you have a straight line. You can see a straight line to your point, but when you get to that point, you don't know where you're supposed to be pointed when you get there. If you have 2 points in your forward direction, then you essentially have 3 points of reference. You have your location on the track, you have your intermediate point, and you have your last point. And with those 3 points, you can draw a curve. And with a curve, you can establish a direction at that reference point. And having that direction established early allows you to time your turn-in point and your turn-in rate so that you can arrive at that, what is typically your apex, pointed in the right direction. So again, key number one, using your eyes, moving your eyes back and forth as you ride, and seeing your direction as early as possible. Point number one is easy, and everyone can do it. It simply takes a little bit of preparation before you ride, and the discipline to look around and assimilate all that information so you know where you're going well before you get there. Step two is where a lot of riders start to run into a problem. They can get their bike pointed in the right direction, understand where that's supposed to be, and get to the point where they can apply the gas and take away lean angle. However, sometimes their body position does not allow them to physically relax and let the bike stand up. And the most important concept to letting the bike stand up is to have the ability to let your arms relax, to be soft with your upper body at that point of the corner. How do we accomplish that? Well, when we're leaned over, we have to do something to support our body weight. Even if you're riding on the street and you sit in the middle of the seat, as I lean over into the corner, I have to do something to support my body weight because my body weight begins to tilt to the inside. If I want to be able to let the bike stand up underneath me, then the bike must have freedom of movement. I can't be fixed and attached to the motorcycle. I don't want to plant my butt on the bike and essentially screw myself to the motorcycle. The bike has to be able to move independently of me. It's got to be able to move underneath my body to be able to unload what's going on and truly stand up as it wants to. So I can't bolt myself to the seat. I've got to be able to be light on the seat and be able to glide back and forth, and I certainly don't want to lock myself in with my arms. The minute I've got all my weight on one arm or the other, if I'm taking a right-hand corner and I've got my arm locked in here and I'm carrying weight on the inside of my hand and my arm is straight like this, I'm supporting my weight with my hand here, okay, and not with my lower body. If I'm supporting my weight with my inner arm primarily, which is the most common mistake riders make mid-corner, that I don't have the ability to release because this is what I'm supporting my weight with. If I let go of this force, I fall off the motorcycle, and riders will never voluntarily do that. So the key to the second part of Gas on Bike Up is to be able to soften your arms. And the way we do that is if you can't support your body weight, or we do not want to support your body weight with your arms, then your support for your weight must come from your legs. And the very basic way we do that is by engaging 2 points of support. We want to carry the weight of our motorcycle in 2 places. On the ball of our inside foot, which transfers it up through our calf into our quads, and importantly, with our outside leg against the gas tank. If we have our hips square and we're separated enough that we can just lock in, so I've got some support now, you can see I can sit here and be in a riding position, be in a good position where I'm centered on the bike and I've got good control of my ability to move around. I can have my arms completely soft and I'm completely engaged with my legs. The important part is to not be sitting in the middle of the seat where we don't have a lot of side-to-side leverage to hold itself on the motorcycle. The minute you get off the seat, the key is that you begin to engage your outside leg against the gas tank. That's the linchpin to this whole body position part here that allows you to be soft with your hands. Now that I have my weight supported with my lower body and I can totally relax my hands, as I exit the corner, the bike can move independently of me. If I weigh 200 pounds, I don't have 200 pounds in the seat. I've got maybe 50 pounds in the seat. And I'm carrying that 150 pounds in my quads, locked against the tank for support, and a lot of force engaged in my inside leg. Now I can completely relax on the way up, and as I have direction and I begin to apply the throttle, my arms are soft enough that the bike can move independently of me, and I can move my body more towards the inside of the corner. We want to get off and support ourselves like this. In this position, I'm in a really good spot to relax my hands because my weight is supported on the inside of this leg here. The minute I roll my knee in like that, I go back to putting weight on my inside hands. So hips square, shift it off, not being crazy like Marc Marquez, just got my body in a position where I can fully engage my legs and be in total control of what's going on the motorcycle. So as I roll the throttle on, I can move my head to the inside of the corner on the way out. That's critical. The final piece of the puzzle comes from being able to smoothly roll on the throttle. Our first part of Gas on Bike Up was to have direction so we can apply throttle and take away lean angle in a constant fashion. The second part puts our body in the right position so we have the softness and the dexterity to be able to let the bike move up underneath us. The last part is very important, is dexterity at the controls. The most critical part of your drive is the first 5%, that 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, that tiny little opening. Now, if I have soft hands, I can really do a good job dialing 1, 2, 3, 4, 5% throttle. However, if I'm not sitting on the bike properly and I'm carrying weight on the inside hand and I've got all this force in here, it's very, very difficult for me now to go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I more like go, like that first initial roll on doesn't go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. It goes 0, 0, 0, 0, 20. And that's very, very common. So if we want to be able to use a throttle accurately, we've got to be soft with our hands. That's how we have any kind of dexterity. A piano is a really good way to show this. If I go over this piano and I've got good body position where I have the ability to be completely light on my fingers, I can play perfectly. However, if I go bad body position, step away, so I have to put too much weight on my hands to get to the keys, it's a mess. Go worse, you don't want to make bad music with your throttle. And that abruptness upsets the motorcycle, causes a sudden weight transfer, a sudden release in grip, and the possibility of a fall. The practice that you can do in your pits when you're sitting there and imagining what's going on through a corner is you go, okay, I finished the corner and I practice 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. In fact, a drill that you should do is to start your motorcycle and practice going room, room. You want to go like this. Not like this. That's bad. This is right. Not like this. That drill of practicing rolling the gas on, and while you're going through a corner, you imagine yourself going through the corner as you roll the gas on, that will help imprint the practice of your first 5% throttle. Really, really helpful drill. So in summary, every time you apply throttle, you want to take away lean angle. Gas on, bike up. We do that by number 1, using our eyes so we can see our direction early and have the ability to apply throttle and take away lean angle in a constant fashion without giving it up. The second is we focus on engaging with our legs, especially with our outside leg against the gas tank, and engaging our inside calf so that we can support our body weight with our legs and have the ability to relax our hands on the way up. The third point is to have a smooth first 5% of the throttle, so we don't have that abrupt transition, that abrupt change in grip that affects our tires, and to be able to begin our acceleration as smooth and as early as possible. Now for the bonus we told you about in the beginning. This is a concept that helps put together all 3 of these practices we need to make Gas on Bike Up work and will help the entirety of your riding. And it's very simple. The rule is as follows. Never go to the brakes in the middle of the seat. Riders have the most difficult time taking weight off their arms after a heavy braking corner. It makes sense. You've got a lot of force in your hands, and you're trying to really hold yourself up off the bike. To go from that heavy arm input to be able to completely relax yourself on the way in can be difficult, especially if you're supporting your weight on the inside of your arm because you haven't properly engaged your legs. So the key is this. never go to the brakes in the center of the seat. Or, put another way, body before brakes, every time. So we've got two simple concepts we talked about today. Gas on, bike up, and body before brakes. So how does that work? Every time before you go to the brake lever, all you need to do is put your body in a spot where you're slightly off the seat, your outside leg is engaged against the tank. What does this do? It's very simple. If I'm in the center of the seat, I don't have a lot of leverage to keep my body from going forward. I put all of my weight on my hands and you tend to slide up against the gas tank. That full brake pressure creates a lot of G-force in this direction. However, if I get off the seat before I go to the brakes, what I've done is I've taken my outside leg, and instead of it being parallel with the gas tank, it now creates a little bit of an angle. I have an anchor on the outside of the tank. Now, as I apply the brakes, okay, instead of having 100% of the weight on my arms, I maybe got 20% of the weight on my legs and 80% on my arms. Well, how does this help? Now, when I brake with full force, okay, same amount of force, and I've got all this force on my hands on the way in, which is now 80% instead of 100, now I get towards the end of the braking zone where I'm going to start turning, and I trail the brake off. My fingers are coming off the brake lever slowly. And as I go from 100%, 80, 60, 40, 20, 10, 5% brakes, when I get below that 20% mark, remember, I've got 20% of my weight anchored on my outside leg. So now I've taken effectively all the weight off my arms. I have the ability to initiate the corner, soften my inside arm, and put my head over the inside fork tube where it should be. So I'm helping the bike turn and putting myself in a position where I can relax through the middle of the corner. This simple concept of body before brakes, okay, never going to the brakes in the center of the seat, is a foundational principle that every new rider should learn, and has been a transformational difference for even expert riders we've had in our class before. Expert riders who didn't form this habit earlier in their career, and when they made the change, instantly freed up extra grip. That human load of twisting the bars, that turning of the front wheel, as soon as they're able to take that load out of the chassis in the middle of the corner, they instantly free up grip. The bike turns better, you can feel more feedback from the motorcycle, you can go faster and be safer at the same time. And that's what we're after. If you enjoyed this video, please like and subscribe below. More importantly, if you have a friend that's new to riding or a friend who's racing that you think might need this information, please forward this along to them. Our goal is to help the motorcycle community ride faster, ride safer. Be sure to watch for lots more content like this from GasOnBikeUp, and until next time, ride fast, ride safe.